Hey guys, good day. How you doing? My name's Ian. I'm a hard rock musician, and I'm here to talk to you about in-ear monitors today, and even talk to you guys about what I think is the harsh truth about in-ear monitors that nobody really ever talks about. I've never heard anybody say. So stick around to the end. We'll talk about that. But in the meantime, I'll just give you a little bit of background about me. So I'm a hard rock musician. I've been playing guitar, like 40 years now or whatever. I've been in all kinds of bands. I've done all kinds of shows. Eventually, throughout my working career, I decided that I just wanted to play guitar. And so when I was 53, I quit working. And, that's a few years ago now. And so I've been playing guitar ever since. I played in cover bands. I played in original bands. I've played in tribute bands. And I still do all of these things, actually. In fact, right now I've got an 80s pop band. I've got a Kiss, full makeup tribute band that I play in. And I've got an original band that I play in. And, between the three of these bands, I do all kinds of shows. I so many each year. Not even funny, really. But anyway, over the years, I've learned that I really have come to rely on using in-ear monitors. Really, what I found by using them the first time was that I could hear my voice, you can hear your voice in a wedge when you're singing and whatnot, and that's fine. But it's just not the same because, I would find that the wedge would kind of fade away or whatever, it's just not there. Where if I had that voice right there in my ear, it was awesome. And so the first time I ever used them, I remember the drummer in our band at the time, actually this is like back in 2009, and he looks at me and says, "Man, you've never sounded better." And really the reason was because I could hear what I was doing. I could hear the mistakes. Now, I'm not one of these guys who needs to, have a stereo mix or really super awesome bass response or anything like that at all. That's just not how it works for me. I just need to be able to hear. And more than that, because my playing and music and whatnot has evolved over the years, I find myself using backing tracks a lot of the time too. And so I want to be able to have a click track. I think it's important for everybody in the band to be on that same feel. So, for me, I prefer everybody in the band to be on in-ear monitors. I still like to have a wedge. I like to have a backup. You never know when your batteries are going to die. Anything could happen. So it's always good to have a backup. Over the years, I've used all kinds of different systems. I started off, my first system that I ever bought was way back in the day, and probably about 2009 as well. And it was a system by Nady. It was really cheap, right? It was, I even forget what it cost. You could get them on eBay back in the day. It was the EO3 system, and you could get it with 4 or 5 packs or whatever. This suited us well because, we were running click tracks for this band that we were playing in at the time. And, the music that we had maybe had big spaces in the music. We all needed to be able to stay on the same count as well as possible. And obviously having a click track is the best way to do that. So we used that, and I started pumping my voice into my ear there, and that was awesome. It worked great for a while. Eventually I thought, I like these in-ear monitor systems quite a bit, and I'm going to invest my money in something that's a little bit better. So I went out at the time and I bought what was called the Shure PSM 200 system. And it was really cool because I could take my microphone, I could run a cable right to it, plug it right into the unit, and then out of there, it would go to the board. So my front of house guy could have it and do what he wanted. It didn't affect him in any way. So that was cool. He didn't have to give me a signal, nothing. In that respect, it was pretty cool. And, if I wanted to add a click track, I could just, plug a click track into the other input on the front of it or whatever. It would be no problem at all. And so I'd have my click track and then I'd have my voice. What I started to find using in-ear monitors this way was that, they came with an earpiece that would be sort of like this here, it would be curved over your ear and whatnot. And Shure, back in the day, they had like a foam thing that you could squeeze, like a density foam, stick it in your ear, and then it would open up. And that ideally is supposed to help keep in your ears. And so that blocks out a bunch of noise. And so what you're left with is really whatever your microphone is picking up is the sound you're getting in your ear. So it's great, for hearing your voice and whatnot. But then I began to find that, it's just not really awesome for hearing the rest of the band. And so I had to find another solution for that. In the meantime, I was going to go on a little bit of a tour. And because of my belief that everybody needs to be on the same click track and everything, I went and I purchased another in-ear monitor system. And this one was by a company called Galaxy Audio. And I spent, I think it was $400 at the time. And I bought a system, the AnySpot 900, and I'm telling you, man, it was a clean sounding unit. It worked really, really good. The way I did it back then is I was running wireless in-ears, and I had a bass player who was running wireless in-ears. I sing and play guitar. And then I had a drummer, and I always felt that the drummer needed to be hardwired because if anything ever happened, we lost a battery. Like if the drummer was on a wireless pack, he lost his battery, then all of a sudden he's got no click, and that's going to be a mess, right? So I decided to go with just the 2 packs for that particular band unit. And I still have the Galaxy Audio one now. I just sort of keep it around here as a backup. Eventually my Shure unit crapped out on me. It was the body pack for it that was crapping out. I did actually end up at one time having to replace the antenna in it. I thought that for some reason my Galaxy Audio wasn't working, and I ended up buying one that I just found on Amazon. It was really super cheap. It was by a Chinese company, I think, and they're called Anlian. And it was the Anlian S2. And I bought that unit, and it was really quite good. It sounded as good as anything. It didn't seem to have the features on the front, like it basically just had a channel selector, and then it had a volume adjustment in case you decided to be wired. It really has nothing to do with the wireless function of it. So in fact, you get a body pack with it. This is the body pack for it. And you can see it's got this LCD screen. It's awesome. It'll tell you how much life you've got left in your battery and everything like that. And, tells you what channel you're on, does everything you need it to do. I'm telling you, this thing sounds good. And it cost me, at the time, $125. I looked a little while ago, and I think they're about $200 now probably, which is still pretty cheap in the world of in-ear monitors. But there's all kinds of companies out there that make them, and not all of them are really, really expensive. So, but I've used all kinds, man. And, like in my 80s band currently, I'm using the Shure PSM 300 as a primary unit. And this one here that I just showed you guys, the Anlian, I'm using it with the Kiss Tribute that I play in. That's kind of my full-time rig generally. So it works really good. So here's what I think is the truth about these units, because I've used all kinds. I've used the Anlians, I've used the Galaxy, I've used the Shure PSM 200, Shure PSM 300. I've used Sennheisers. I've done all kinds of shows at casinos and big festivals and stuff where we've got, great big sound companies coming in and they provide you with all this stuff. And I don't even know what a Sennheiser system would be worth, but I would think it'd be about $1,500. And, to me, the biggest difference is I can look at the face of it and it'll show me my input, And I pretty much don't care about that because I can get that either I trust a sound guy to give it to me, or if I'm doing my own sound, I can see that on my own mixing software or whatever. So, that's not a deal breaker for me. So getting back to what I think is the secret about these things that nobody really talks about, and this might trigger some guys a little bit because I know a lot of guys are tone snobs or what have you, or, the more you spend, the better you get. I just don't think that's necessarily the case with these things. At the core of their circuits, all they are is a transistor circuit or an op-amp circuit of some kind amplifying a signal, and they're sending it to your ear. The real difference in your monitoring comes from your actual earpieces and not so much from the system you use. At least that's what my belief is. And I have used all kinds, and I'll be using 3 different kinds because I'm playing 3 nights this weekend. So I stand by that 100%. But really, it comes down to the earpieces you use. You need to realize that different earpieces are going to do different things for you. I did buy these ones here. These are a multi-driver. I think they're actually only a 2-driver unit, but they work pretty good. And, I can put a mix on it. It'll give you the bass response if you're a guy who needs to have this kind of bass response and whatnot, and you'll sound like you're listening in speakers. The problem that I have with pieces like these is that they have to stick in my ear. And for whatever reason, man, this ear seems to work fine. No matter what I put in this ear, it always seems to fall out. It's like I got a great big giant hole in my head or something like that, and I just can't keep them there. And if I have a guitar strap on and, it's moving and whatnot, and it starts to pull it out, even in spite of the fact that it wraps around my ear. And so these things have become less than ideal. The other thing that I think is important for me is, I grew up being in a band and I didn't have in-ear monitors. And so I was used to hearing the sound of the band in a room. And quite frankly, I still like to hear that, but I do want to hear my voice more. And so I've graduated to, I'm not sure that graduated is the right word necessarily, but I've changed my way of thinking to how I handle the earpieces now. And so I bought something that I think works for me. One of the drummers that I'm playing with currently has now adopted this too because he likes it, because he also likes to be able to hear the room. But I'm using these things here. They're by JVC, and they're a consumer headphone, and they cost $20 on Amazon. They cost nothing. They don't seal up my ear, but they give me what I need from my voice. So I plug these things into my unit. I yak away into my microphone. I can hear my voice. And what I do is I play and I just turn up my body pack until I can hear my voice. And then I still have the sound of the room, and I still have the sound of my voice, and everything works great for me. Plus I get my click tracks if I'm using them that particular night or whatever. So everything works really, really well that way. What got me into this way of thinking was I knew that I needed to hear the room. I've tried doing it with the ambient miking technique and whatnot, and that can work. It can be okay. but it's a lot more setup and what have you. This is just so easy. I just plug it in and go. So when I was looking for headphones, trying to find a solution for this problem, I was online, and I don't know that they're available anymore, but I came across a company called Westone, and they made a headset that is molded and sticks right in your ear, but it had what they call an ambient port. And I thought, well, this is probably exactly what I need. But what I didn't like is that they cost about $1,000. And I can tell you guys, man, you want to spend $1,000 on headphones and you really think they sound better, by all means, go ahead and do it. But, from my experiences at loading out at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning and all that bullshit, these things are getting wrapped around your fingers and stuff. Before you know it, the wires are fraying off. And I just wasted $1,000 on a pair of headphones that just doesn't even work anymore. So I thought, well, I'm going to try these cheapies here. And I basically bought them, not really by accident, but I was taking a chance on them. And so these are the guys that I'm using right here. You can see it. They just stick on my ear like that. My hair is long enough that you really can't see them anyway. And, maybe you don't even care, if you're a short hair guy or whatever. But listen, man, these are the ones that are working so awesome. So at the end of the day, you can agree with me or not that, more expensive units are better or not better or sound better or don't sound better or what have you. In my experience, they just don't sound better. What really makes the difference is the headphones, and you don't really need to spend a ton of money on headphones either. I mean, it does depend on what you want, and I get that. Some people want to hear that sort of studio quality as opposed to hearing the stage sound. I love the stage sound. It's what I'm accustomed to. It's how I grew up playing. So this is what's working really well for me. So hopefully, if you're a guy who is thinking about getting into a set of in-ear monitors, I would like you to walk away from this thinking that, you know what, maybe I don't need to break the bank and go and buy a set of Sennheisers right away. And I'm not saying don't ever buy them or whatnot. I know I'm never going to buy them, but you may have your reasons why you should. But if you just want to get into the world of in-ear monitoring, then there's tons of companies out there that make them for $200, $300, $400. You don't have to break, the bank to be able to afford them. You can figure out how they work and what works for you. You can play with different headphones, see what works and what works for you, and take it from there. But you can do it, without having to sell your house to be able to pay for it. So anyway, I hope this helps some of you guys out, and love to see your comments if you're using these things, or if this helps you out at all. Let me know. If you think I'm off my nut, let me know, and hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks, man. Bye-bye.